What is going on, guys? Primetime Gaming here, and I'm doing another part of the Microsoft Point giveaway today, which is going to be awesome. It's going to be the 32 teams who are still in it, or people who are still in it, and next there will only be 16. So first off, I just want to start this video by saying I've pronounced some names wrong in the past, day or something, because some people were saying, "Whoa, bro, I signed in, but my name wasn't announced," and I was like, yeah, I announced you, but I said your name wrong, so sorry about that, guys. Anyway, getting into this, so here we go. All of you are still in it, you should know how this works. So, Old Game 609 versus O-Tabby, and Old Games is number 1, and O-Tabby is number 2. And it is number 1, that means Old Games 609 wins. Okay. Here, I'm just gonna put a card in there. Just to prove it to you guys, there is a 1 and 2 in there. So, alright, so next up is Super Predator in the Shadow Games. The Shadow Games is number 2 and Super Predator is number 1. And it is number 2. The Shadow Games wins. Congrats, man. Alright, next up is Football Star and Stride Shots. So, Stride Shots is number 2 and Football Star is number 1. And it is number 1. Oh, almost fell over. So, Football Star, you are moving on. Next up is Joe Blau and Alex Great. And Joe Blau is number 1 and Alex Great is number 2. And it is number 1, so Joe Blau, you move on. Okay. Next up is Eric Reaper and Merc Akripa. And he's number 2, and Eric Reaper is number 1. So, it is number 2, so Merc Akripa, you move on. Alright, next up is the Rookie Games and Mr. Jackster. Mr. Jackster is number 2, and the Rookie Games is number 1. Get one. And it is number 1, so the Rookie Games moves on. Alright, next up is WW Olympic Sea Games as number 1 and Dan McCarty as number 2. Here we go. It is number 1, so sorry Dan, you're out. And it is WW Olympic Sea Games. Alright, next up is B4 12 Tox and OMA2OR on 20. I don't know how to pronounce that. And it is number 2. So, I don't know what the hell that is. You move on. Alright, so going on to the next line of people. First up is Excuse Me Sir versus Cameron Rao. I'm not spelling your name. And Cameron Rao is number 2, and Excuse Me Sir is number 1, and it is number 2. So Cameron, you move on. Shoot. Next up is 2000 Max something CV and Chase Howerton. Chase Howerton is number 2, and 2000 Max something is number 1. And it is number 2, so Chase Howerton, you move on. Alright. So, JK755 and Jesus Martin. And Jesus Martin is number 2, and JK is number 1. And it is number 2, so Jesus Martin, you move on. Alright, next up is Church Testa and CB Gaming TV as number 2, and Church is number 1. And it is number 1, so sorry CB Gaming, you are out, and Church Testa, you move on. Next up is Only Fine Eakin. Only Fine is number 1, and Eakin is number 2. And it is number 1, so Only Fine, you move on. Okay, next up is Richie Valen Rules and That Kid, and number 1 is Richie, and that kid is number 2. And it is number 1, so Richie, shoot. You move on. Alright, next up is Hypnotize and VX Keisty. And Hypnotize is number 1, and VX Keisty is number 2. And it is number 1. So, Hypnotize and move on. Next up is Romel Collins and Optic Death Punch. Romel Collins is number 1, and the Optic Death Punch is number 2. And it is number 2, so Optic Death Punch, you move on. Alright, next up is Frank Doherty and Ian Mayer. Frank is number 1, and Ian Mayer is number 2. And it is number 1. Frank, you win.
Yeah!
And they're here, so.
Yeah! Go down, yeah. Come on, suck it. Suck it.
Alright, that's good.
Show the number 1 though.
Yeah!
You just.
Sorry.
Okay, it was number 1 though.
Alright,
Guys, stop.
stop.
Alright, so
So next up
so happy
is-
about this awesome thing you put together.
Mega's Swagger.
Big hand for Ian.
Mega's Swagger. And it depends.
Oh my gosh.
This all depends if he moves on or not.
Guys,
1,
stop.
Sorry.
1, he
Sorry.
moves on, and 2, he does not. And 2, I'm sorry, man, you do not move on to the next round. Alright. So there we go, guys, and I'm gonna go ahead and say all the winners. Old Game 609. The Shadow Games, Football Star, Joe Blau. Mert Kripa, The Rookie Games, WWE Olympic C. Omar, I don't know how the hell this pronounced that. Excuse me, sir. Nope, he didn't win. Cameron Rowell, Chase Howerton, Jesus Martin, Church Testa, Only Fine, Ricky Valen Rules, Hypnotize, and Optic Death Punch, and Frank Doherty all move on to the next round. And I want to do a shout out to Old Game 609 again. So he has an awesome channel. We do some hilarious stuff on that. And also Ian's channel, whatever his channel name is.
Ian Mayer.
Yeah, Ian Mayer.
No. Ian space Mayer.
No, I'll put it in the description.
M-A-I-R.
Alright, that's good. Alright, so guys, thank you for watching this video.
Watch
And
some ZS and
see ya.